Hello, welcome to Electrical Mirror podcast. Electrical Mirror is one of the best publications to provide all the insights of what's happening in the electrical world. So here we are at ElAsia 2026 covering all the updates and insights for a consumer. With me I have Mr. Dave Wilson. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm working with Intertech. I'm actually from James Durrans in the UK.
Okay. So can you tell a bit about yourself and the company and the product that you guys are
Sure.
engaging with?
So James Durrans has a product called Marconite. Marconite is an earthing solution. James Durrans as a business has been in business for 163 years old. We actually have a warrant signed by Queen Victoria herself, so we've been around a long time. We've been working in carbon technologies. Marconite is a carbon technology. And in 2011, we found Intertech as a business and been working with Intertech to bring the Marconite product to India in order to help India grow its infrastructure as electrical supply systems and everything else. And that's what we've been doing.
So, can you please tell me about the history behind this word Marconite and how you guys came up with, what is the exact thing behind it?
Okay, so Dr. Marconi was the founder of radio technology. Early in the early days, he was limited to basically just standard radio. Then he moved on to his company Marconi, moved on to military applications such as radar. After the Second World War, he then specialised in military applications and developing radio signals. He found that in certain areas of the UK and across the world, the earthing conditions of highly secretive assets like radar systems needed a very strong earthing system to give you the best signal to noise ratio. Okay, so he tried other materials, but he couldn't get the right material. So he had to develop his own product. So he decided to call it Marconite. So it comes from the name Marconi. He needed a manufacturing partner. The manufacturing partner needed to be a specialist in processing carbons, which we were that specialist. So we've been manufacturing Marconite since its inception. So it's been around since 1975. It was it's actually on a public broadcast program in the UK and told the world in 1975. But really, between 1975 and 1980, 1990, around that time, it was mainly used in military applications, and so it wasn't a commercial product. So since 1990, it's been available commercially in the UK. We developed the market in the UK, and we're supplying companies that had unique problems. I'll come on to those when you ask me. Yeah. Okay, across the UK. But we recognised that India was a growing country and developing very rapidly, and we then came to India at that point back in 2011, and that's where we found Intertech.
So, my next question is, how old is the company and what has been your experience with the earthing industry so far?
Okay, so Marconite's been used since the 1970s. Basically, using Marconite allows you to have a permanent solution. Okay, the difference between our product and many other products is that the other products are using a system requiring water to have an ion be able to move around. So you have a cathode and an anode, and the water molecule allows the transportation of that ion. The most commonly used product in this system is bentonite. Bentonite doesn't conduct electricity. The water in bentonite conducts electricity. Okay. And to make that happen, it adds sodium. Sodium, as in from salt, sodium chloride. They add sodium ions in that clay, and it has an aqueous form, which is water-based, so that the current is allowed to move. So when a lightning strike hits a building protected with bentonite, the current passes through the water containing sodium ions. There is a problem. Water evaporates. Clay-based systems will dry out, and they have a lifetime. Depending on the conditions, depending on how deep they are, they're typically between 1 and 3 years. So the problem you have is that you spend a lot of money putting in your installation, whether it's a building, whether it's an electrical system, as a computer, as a power station. After 3 years, your earthing system won't work. That means that in the event of a fault, whether it's an electrical fault and it has to short or a lightning strike, that system no longer works. Now, in the worst case scenario, people get killed. The common answer is that the system just fails and the electronics inside the system say, I can't work, and it turns off. So inside the UK, we work on specialist applications, normally safety critical systems. So the railway networks, nuclear stations, and we work on solar farms, that kind of thing. In India, it's been slow to take that because it's a very cost-sensitive market, and it's been difficult to prove to people that spending more money on a system is worth it in the long term. But it's clear numbers. Our systems work for 25 years or more. Some systems have lasted nearly 50 years, okay? So what we're trying to say to somebody is the life costs of Marconite, yes, are expensive in the initial term, but when you add up the cost over say 15 years, you will have replaced your chemical earthing system a number of times. Marconite will still be the original one, and it will last longer and longer. So if you have, for example, a solar farm, that solar farm will have a lifespan of at least 25 years. So the solar farm lasts for 25 years. You want an earthing solution that lasts the same time, and that's where Marconite comes in.
Now that you have talked about, it's very important for the consumer to understand how important it is. But can you please tell us, as a company, how important it is to have earthing in their homes, in their buildings, and how they're gonna protect, how the earthing is going to protect them?
When lightning hits something, whether it's a building, a tree, whatever, it has to find a route to ground. It normally chooses it always chooses the easiest route to ground. Now, that is normally through a working earthing system, which is fine. If they're correctly installed and maintained, that's fantastic. If there's no earthing system in place, it will choose the easiest way to ground. Sadly, that can be through people. If you are near something that is trying to find, in the instant that the lightning hits and you are nearby, you are the shortest distance to ground if there's no earthing system. So the current, all of the over a gigawatt of power passes through you into the ground. Normally it's a fatal thing. But that happens rarely. Okay, not many people are killed by lightning a year. Enough, but not many. The biggest problem we have as a consumer is we're sitting at home, lightning hits our building, all of our electronics are destroyed, or the electrical system on your house or your flat, your big building that you're living in, that's also affected. So what's important is that wherever you are, whether it's a domestic residence or whether it's a building or whether it's an asset like a solar farm or the metro system, that wherever there is exposure to electrical shorts or lightning, that there's a correct route to ground, and it has to be specified to carry the current, because a thin copper cable won't carry a big current, and the copper will burn out very quickly and then look for another route to ground. So you need to carry out a proper soil survey to find out how good the soil is. Some soils are very conductive, some aren't. And then secondly, you need to speak to a specialist team that understands how to basically take those resistivity surveys, form a very good earthing solution for you and install that, which matches your requirements, whether that's from a domestic residence or whether that's some industrial complex or whatever it is.
So coming to India, so when did you introduce Marconite earthing products here in India?
So we were looking for help in India from about 2008. We met a number of companies, but they didn't work with us in a satisfactory way. In 2011, I met Mr. Charanjit Singh. We were very impressed with the business that he was forming. We spent a long time talking and developing our relationship, and from 2011 we signed an agreement that they have been our pan-India representative for Marconite. Beneath that parent company, there is a whole range of regional distributors working for that parent company. So product comes into India from the UK and is distributed across India into those local distributors. So Marconite's available across India through that network.
So Dave, can you please tell me or highlight some of your major projects in the world and in India?
Okay, so across the UK we support the National Rail Network. That can be tractive power, or more commonly it's the signalling, because signalling is critical. If the signalling doesn't work, train crashes happen and people die. We also support the nuclear industry, we support the military sector, telecommunications. So when British Telecom wanted to put the first broadband systems across the UK, because British Telecom developed fibre optics, and they rolled that out across the UK in the early 2000s. They wanted a product that they could put in the ground that would last the lifetime of that network, and they're using Marconite. So across the UK, there are bags of Marconite everywhere in the forms of the concrete blocks that they form. So this product is used widely in that telecommunications, nuclear, rail, power sector. In it across the world, that's mirrored. This is used widely in the Middle East because the current ground conditions are very dry, but also in areas such as Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur has 270 days a year of lightning. They need very good lighting systems. In Singapore, for example, they have very similar weather patterns. And where there's the main line between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore, the Singapore end, the train station has over 100 tons of Marconite in it to make sure that anybody inside that building is safe from lightning strike. Inside India, we've been working very extensively with the Delhi Metro. We've begun some early installations of Marconite in the rail network system. We supply power networks. We're also working with the military in terms of some military applications. I can't go into too much detail,
Right.
but they're working with the military. But we're also working with solar farms. And as Modi has decreed that there will be 500 gigawatts of solar power in India before 2030, we're working with companies to make sure that these solar farms that are going to last 25 years have an earthing system of Marconite that also lasts 25 years, so that India can benefit from green energy from a product that will give them permanent earthing systems.
So now India is growing rapidly.
Yep.
There is no doubt. And what are your plans for any product under Make in India scheme that the government is offering?
So Marconite's as a strict IP, so we have to be very certain that we protect our intellectual property. We have a long trading relationship now with Intertech, and we're on this latest trip to India. I've been exploring the possibility of taking product from India and actually manufacturing that into Marconite. So we hope by the end of this year to have a made in India version of Marconite that we can then take to the Indian market, which will be a true made in India brand, but it'll also protect the IP of the Marconite brand using the same technology.
So do you guys do the technology transfer thing with Intertech?
That's something we're still in the middle of discussions.
Right.
A bit earlier. So the manufacturing, we
Yeah.
will help them manufacture the product, and we'll work with them as to how much they take on board, whether they take full feedstocks or whether they just have an intermediary product that they convert into Marconite. We're looking at that at the moment. But basically, the majority of the costs will be in India, and that will help the India brand.
Okay, so the company emphasizes on maintenance-free earning for up to 25 to 50 years, I guess.
Yeah.
So how is that longevity achieved technically?
So as I was describing, many of the other systems are water-based.
Okay.
All they are is a way of retaining moisture, like a sponge or a clay or some form of gel, in an area so it conducts electricity when you need it. Marconite is a true conductor. It's like having a big block of metal in the ground,
Right.
but it's not metal, it's carbon.
Okay.
There is various forms of carbon. Some forms of carbon conduct electricity, some don't. Luckily, we as human beings, if you take the water away, we're mostly carbon. We also conduct electricity, and that's a bad thing if you're hit with lightning. So carbon is a various allotropes of carbon. Marconite is a specific refined form of carbon that allows electricity to conduct. And that is that's how the technology works. And because because the carbon doesn't change, on day one it works, day 10,001 it works. The only thing stopping Marconite working is if the Marconite is broken in the ground. So if somebody hits it with a hammer or it is removed, then it would stop working. But whilst there is contact between the ground, Marconite, and the copper or whatever metal you're using, the system works. We call it a permanent solution.
Can you just give a brief about the challenges that you face, like on a daily basis as a company providing such a long, durable product?
So the challenges that we're facing in India at the moment is getting the justification across between the lower cost solutions and the lifetime cost.
Right.
Okay, so if you're looking at something for 3 years, it doesn't look like justified. But when people are buying an asset like a solar farm or just putting it on their roof, they want it to be there for a number of years. And no one can quantify the problem when something falls over. In terms of electrically, it stops working. So if your equipment stops working, whether it's on day 10, maybe day 100, day 1,000, when it eventually stops working, you may lose your refrigeration, so all your food is spoiled. You may use your telecommunications, so you miss those business calls. You may lose your asset in your factory may break. And simple things, and I'll give you an example. We're working with a company that is a coffee machine specialist. They bring in coffee machines from outside of India that are highly sensitive to electrical systems. They plug them in, it should just work, okay, because India is a developed nation. But if the earthing system to that house, it's not the power supply, it's the earthing system. If that earthing system is not working, the coffee machine doesn't work. So if you've spent your 10,000 rupees on a coffee machine, you want a cup of coffee. It's a simple thing. It doesn't work because it's expecting to be plugged in to a refined earthing system. And these are the kind of challenges that people think everything works, and not always they do. So we're looking to basically make sure that the network of power across India is supported by an infrastructure of correct earthing systems that not only work now, but they work for a long period of time. Our system is guaranteed for 25 years. It can work up to 50 years and beyond. And what we're trying to do is educate the Indian populace and the Indian engineers, the electrical engineers, that cheap isn't necessarily good enough. And you want to look at the lifetime cycle of a product.
Right. So, how is India's infrastructure boom influencing demand or demand for advanced grounding technology and system?
Right now, it's getting enough Marconite into the country. It's a challenge. Marconite is in demand. Many people are looking for that, and we're trying to meet that demand by bringing material in. One of the reasons we're looking at making Marconite in India is so that we can locally meet that demand. At the moment, we're bringing material in from the UK. That's fine, but it's a long transit time. It's coming all the way around Africa at the moment because you can't go through the Middle East, and that's causing issues. And so we're trying to alleviate that by doing that here, and we hope to satisfy the demands of pan-India power networks and installations very soon. We haven't let anybody down yet, and we're working hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
And what's the future vision of Marconite, and how you guys are planning to expand it in India?
So right now we're working with key account holders, we're working with key installers, but we're looking for that Marconite to become the domestic brand as well as the industrial brand, so that you can pick up the phone. You're not happy with your landlord's earthing system, or you're not happy with your house, you want to have that, and say, I need someone to install Marconite for me. We want it to become the Coca-Cola of earthing. So that's the brand that everybody turns to. It is already that in the UK and across Europe and some parts of the world, but in India it's not a brand that is as well known. And that's our ultimate goal, is that when somebody wants to put an earthing system in, they Marconite it. It's like, it's that brand that we know associates with, I want to feel safe, I want it to work forever.
And what do you think, how much time it's going to take?
Those people have already got it, are already converts. They're part of our family of customers. It's going to take time, because until you have a problem with your earthing system, as we roll out electrical cars, as people start having their lithium-ion powered cars, and they plug them in at home and they go to work their car, but the earthing system's not good enough, that will start changing people's minds. Because as India goes from 2 terawatts of power to 10 terawatts to 20 terawatts, we need earthing systems. It's the bedrock, it's the foundations of an electrical system. Without correct earthing, everything else on top is very shaky. Okay, and that's the problem. We view the earthing as the foundations of an earthing system. So of an electrical system. Sorry, I'll repeat that. So Marconite forms the foundations of an electrical system on which the electrical network sits. And we're hoping that Marconite product is going to be used widely across India, and people will come to use the name of Marconite as a brand that they can trust.
So, Dave, what do you have to say about your collaboration with Intertech and how they are going to be in this particular field?
So Intertech are based in Delhi. They have a network of partner companies across India. Some of those partner companies are installers of earthing systems. Some of those companies are installers of grounding systems, or they may be are just partners that are using that directly with their solar panel installations and that kind of thing. We've been working with Intertech, and we've had no problems with them. They've expanded with our demands. They've generated interest in the Marconite brand in India, and we're hopeful of working with them going forward. They're looking to basically start making our product. We're really happy with them as a partner company in India.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Dave, for your time.
No problem.
And it was a very insightful discussion.
I hope so.
Thank you
you
so much.
Cheers.